Erica met with Beyond Stillness 12 times to articulate and publicly share this story of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope.
Welcome to Beyond Stillness. Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and the tax-deductible donations of generous listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors through stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. Visit www.beyondstillness.org or click the donation button in the episode description to sponsor a guest on their reflective story crafting journey.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke. Today we meet a woman whose life was defined by constant motion. Conference to conference, idea to idea, achievement to achievement. She traveled with a car full of plans and a calendar full of purpose, moving through her days on autopilot, while her consciousness slipped between the present moment and endless to-do lists. But her body was already trying to tell her something. When her legs stopped working in the driveway, everything she'd been running toward suddenly stopped. In the hospital, drifting between consciousness and somewhere far beyond, she experienced something unexpected. Her wedding day, replayed in slow motion. Her first classroom, vivid and full of color. Moments she'd lived too fast, now given back to her to truly see. And in a rehab hallway, shuffling 60 small steps in pink hospital socks. While holding a walker like her life depended on it, she discovered what it means to stop making life happen, to start participating in it with presence, trust, and faith. Thank you for joining us for part 1, Erica Bartley's story. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. Today we begin with a moment of pause to honor the way that wisdom emerges through recovery. And we give thanks. Now, Erica Bartley's story.
It started like any other day in my life as a principal. Early morning coffee, a playlist of motivational songs, and a car full of ideas. I was on the road alone, traveling between conferences with my mind busy planning how to bring fresh energy back to the school I served. My calendar was full, and I felt like I was moving with purpose. But looking back, I realized I was already living in kind of a dream. The restless, endless kind where you're always running, but never quite finishing. I moved through my days on autopilot. My consciousness split between the present moment and the constant planning, the endless to-do list cycling through my mind. I was physically present, but not really there. But deep down, something was wrong. My breath became shorter than normal, and my body was tired. My speech slurred a little during a phone call, but I brushed it off as fatigue. I was always tired. That's just the cost of leadership, right? I was sleepwalking through life. Even as my body began to fail, my mind held tight to determination. I prided myself on my work ethic and ability to achieve. I knew how to get things done. After I left one conference, I was asked to sing the national anthem at our Leadership Florida conference and traveled 3 more hours to my destination. I was greeted by a former facilitator. "You look so tiny." Ugh, people were noticing. I had mysteriously lost 20 pounds. The weight just kept falling off. Again, my breath shortened and my heart began to beat faster. I brushed off the comment with a small smile and said, "I'm on a new diet." Concern began to set in. It felt like a secret had gotten out. but was determined to push on. My singing performance was great, but it took my last bit of energy. That whole conference, I attended my required events and spent the rest of the time in bed, drifting between wake and sleep. My body was giving out. I started my trek back to Jacksonville early the next morning. My breath was shorter, heart faster, and a melancholy feeling took over. The drive was silent. I made it home. My husband was hundreds of miles away in Miami, teeing off on a much needed golf trip. I didn't tell him what was going on. Not yet. I didn't want him to worry. Besides, I told myself, I can handle this. I've handled so much before. Even then, I was unaware of my reality. My plan was to visit my parents in my hometown of Macon, Georgia, while he was away. I intended to leave early in the morning, but was so exhausted that I kept delaying. Finally, around 3 p.m., I forced myself to start the drive to Georgia. Normally, I can do this drive in under 4 hours without stopping. I stopped 5 times. One time, I remember stopping at a rest area and closing my eyes. This was all the energy I had left. I was only 25 miles away from my parents' home. I pulled into the driveway exhausted and heart beating faster. I looked in the mirror and gathered myself so I could walk in the house normally. But when I entered the house, my mom looked me from head to toe with a mama quality check look and said, "Something is wrong with you. You don't look like yourself." 3 days passed and it was time for me to hit the road again. I thought I was getting better. While preparing to leave, my mom entered the room and announced with a sharp concern, "You aren't driving yourself back to Florida. I'm taking you home and driving you straight to the doctor." I insisted I was fine, but she refused and drove me anyway. I remember the ride being quiet. I remember trying to make light of things, but in truth, I was scared. I was 39. I was driven. How could I be sick? My mom drove me straight to the doctor's office in Florida. She wanted to make sure I asked the right questions. My appointment ended, but I was left with more questions than resolved. My pressure was elevated, my blood sugar was high. I took over driving from my mom, and after stops at the grocery store, Dollar Tree, and CVS, I got the worst headache of my life just a mile from my home. My mom took the wheel. Once we pulled into the driveway, I couldn't get out of the car. Suddenly, my legs didn't work. My mom went inside and told my husband I needed help. He sprang from the house to carry me to the sofa. They thought I was dehydrated, and they frantically gave me water. My eyesight then doubled. It all became real. The weight loss, paralysis, and lack of energy. I had no idea what was going on with me. I remember uttering to my husband, "Please don't let me die. I won't let this happen. I got you." My husband's voice quivered. Was he saying this to try to convince himself? I was always strong and had never said anything like this to him before. The days that followed were a blur of hospital lights and whispered prayers. The soft beeping of machines surrounded me. I drifted in and out of consciousness, swinging from reality to something far beyond. My body felt heavy, unfamiliar, like it didn't belong to me. I couldn't move the way I wanted, and a quiet fear wrapped around me. Still, through the fog, I could hear my best friend's voice and my brother's prayers echoing somewhere in the room. At times, I heard soft hymns, gentle and familiar, comforting me as I blinked in and out of sleep. My mother was there too, holding my hand. I remember her whispering. Her words pulled me back into that physical space, the hospital room, life on earth. My husband's voice was close by, steady and calm, repeating, God, please heal her. Please give her strength. Their love wrapped around me like a blanket, pulling me back to the physical world. Then came the flashes, the real dreams, moments from my life, vivid and full of color. They were so real. I was back in my first classroom, standing proudly in front of my students. I saw the faces of my former students and my colleagues from that same day. Next, I was back on stage. The lights, the applause. I was reliving. No, I was living that moment. And next, I was in my wedding dress at our wedding venue in Savannah, gazing into my husband's eyes, saying our vows, the joy. My wedding day, August 30th, 2014, went by in a flash. But this real dream, was slowed down. I was so deeply enjoying the moment, and somehow the whole day from above, too. I remember looking down at River Street. Those slow moments brought me an unshakable sense that I was going to be okay, no matter what. Looking back now, I was given an opportunity to live again slowly and to be fully present and at peace. That peace came from a deep trust in God, a quiet assurance that I was held even in my most chaotic, scary, and vulnerable moments. Unconsciously and deep within, this faith became my anchor, steadying me. And my faith in those real dreams remain with me today. The memories didn't scare me. They reminded me my life was, no, is important. I am here, a part of something, and I still have more to do. One day when I woke, I noticed I was in the middle of a deep breath. It felt so good, so foreign. I didn't believe my body could do it. I had gotten so used to short breaths for months before my stroke. I tried it again, this time with a long, deep inhale. I could do it. My body was able to breathe. I exhaled with all my might, kept going as long as I could until my belly contracted. Then back in through my nose. The tubes were in the way, but I was making it happen. Soon after, I discovered I could move fingers, then my toes. The compression machines were still on my legs and arms, but I could breathe deeply again. My heart slowed, my mind cleared, and started reclaiming awareness of my body. When I was moved from the ICU into the hospital room, the nurses entered my room and told me that it was time to get up and walk. I told her, no, I can't do it. I can't walk. They said, we have you. This belt is supporting you from behind. We are on either side. You have got to get up and out. You can do this. They had unhooked me from all the machines. I simply said, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. They stood there looking at me. Fine, fine. I started to try. I realized that I had to do that in order to get back into the bed. These women were determined. So I got up. It was scary. I wasn't in control. It was almost surreal. I felt like I was in another person's body, not having the ability to do something as simple as standing. I felt like I was using my feet for the first time. It was awkward. My feet were swollen, stretching the pink hospital socks. I shuffled my foot a little forward. I didn't trust my balance enough to pick it up. I held on to the walker like my life depended on it. The nurses shuffled the little green chair behind me in case I needed to take a break and sit. They were on either side. I still couldn't trust. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Inching slowly, I walked in what seemed to be a huge circle around the nurse's station. I couldn't wait to get back into bed. I hated that I was depending on everyone else and didn't feel like I had control over my movements or the outcome. It may have been only 60 shuffles. Someone could have done it in 15 seconds with regular steps. My high achieving self was forced to sit back and watch. When I completed the circle, it felt so good to be back in the room. My husband, mom, dad, and aunt were all there. The nurses scooted the green chair back in the corner. I didn't say anything. I did what I had to do, and I got back in bed. I pulled the covers up over me. A sigh of relief and frustration. My new reality. After being in Brooks rehab, the nurses entered the room to take my vitals. It was nighttime, and my husband, bless his heart, was sleeping on the hard bed next to me in the hospital room. My sleep that night was filled with anticipation. I wanted to eat real food, sleep in my own bed without people coming in and out for hours, poking and prodding me. I wanted to figure out my new normal. When I woke up, I turned on the TV screen. My husband and I both looked at my schedule. Nothing. They always posted it on a certain channel. But this time when we clicked to the schedule channel, it was blank. Nothing there. We looked at each other and smiled in excitement. We made it. The next day, in preparation for the release, they dressed me in my tracksuit that my friend brought up to the hospital for me. Of course, it was baggy and falling off. I was only 80 pounds. My head was shaved from a brain surgery, and it was growing back spiky. I'm known for my style. I wanted to keep it up no matter what shape I was in. I've always had a turban to match my outfit. I'm a bit of a diva, as the nurses would say. The new turban covered my scar, new haircut, and tried my confidence. I sat in the waiting area for the nurses to call my name for discharge. When they did, I lunged at the bell that graduates got to ring on their way out of the door. Everyone was cheering. There was so much adrenaline. I rang the bell as hard as I could. The delight. It felt like a dream. I was in the hospital for so long, I forgot what outside looked like. It was real. I realized in the hospital, I was visualizing memories of what the outside looked, smelled, and felt like. Then I was there. It was so vivid, so refreshing. I was no longer imagining. I was living. I was experiencing. Everything was so vivid. Being there, seeing the outside was powerful, real, and it just felt so good. On the way home, my husband told me that I had to give directions on to how to get home. At the light, I told him to take a right. At the roundabout, I told him to make the second exit. I told him we would pass a Winn-Dixie. Maybe he was testing me, but it was fun every time I got it right. I had to focus and observe, see, and connect. We kept getting closer to home, passing the soccer field, the palm trees in the median. Then finally, we pulled into the driveway, and I said, "Wow, that's my house?" "Babe, we're home. We're here," he announced. I just sat there, looked, studied, examined. I took it all in. I hadn't forgotten it. It was in my mind this whole time, but I was really there. He helped me out of the car and put my rollator in front of me. I've always been the strong one, but now I needed him. I was starting to let go of my control, release my need to do everything. The more I focused on him, the more I realized I was receiving his love, his care. We were in this together. I needed him to sleep in my room in the rehab center. I needed him to drive me home. I needed him to put the rollator in front of me. I approached the 5 steps. I needed him to hold my hand. I needed him to hold me steady as my dogs sniffed me because I was awake. I realized I needed him and he needed me. That night, as I laid on the sofa and watched TV, I didn't have anything to do but rest. Everything was so quiet, so comfortable. I thought, hey, wow, this is rest. I am resting. I took my step into the house and I just bawled. I had a lot of mixed emotions. I was scared. I was happy. I was relieved. I was sad. I was challenged. But most of all, I was still me. My familiar house felt foreign, yet good. The house was cradling me. It felt good at that moment. I didn't have a laptop. I didn't know where my cell phone was. There was nothing for me to do. There was just a sense of peace. My mind was clear. I had nothing on my mind. The stroke forced me to sit still, something I rarely do. In that stillness, so many emotions arose. It also gave me an opportunity to think, to entertain those thoughts, and to ultimately let go. My mind and my waking life is just a small piece of the ultimate reality. When I think I can do it all on my own, I remember all the people in my life that make it possible for me to be me and for me to learn, grow, and achieve. It reminded me to stop, notice, to lovingly release control, and above all, have faith. The stroke forced me to enter a space where time slowed, where dreams and reality intertwined, and where each moment felt astonishingly real and vivid. I discovered that I don't make life happen, but instead, life is something I participate in with presence, trust, and love. I'm grateful for the opportunity to experience a deeper reality where I am held by God, by those who love me, and by the quiet strength within. And from that place, I live now with a new kind of breath, aware, awake, and fully alive. This is my reality, and I am truly living the dream.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. Here's a prompt to spark dialogue with yourself and others. What does sleepwalking through life mean to you? And what helps you stay present and aware now? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or now YouTube at Stories After Stroke. Links are in the episode description. Thank you for listening to Part 1, Erica Bartley's story. Stick with us for Part 2, Erica Bartley's interview. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, subscribe, or leave a review so that others can find these intentional stories too. To learn more about our nonprofit organizations, programs, and services, please visit www.beyondstillness.org or find the link in our episode description. Together, we empower stroke survivors to articulate and publicly share their stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Help us continue empowering stroke survivors through our reflective story crafting and sharing process. Supporting this work with your tax-deductible donation makes a real difference. Visit www.beyondstillness.org or click the donate button in this episode's link. Consider sponsoring a guest on their story crafting journey and be a part of our growing community of purpose, connection, and hope.